Hey puppy people, it's Cindy and I am here on the eve of my birthday. Oh, and Rudy's here too. He's got to say hello. He literally has to stick his nose in everything, that big old poodle nose. But I wanted to come on today because tomorrow is my birthday. Yay, I've survived another year. And so I wanted to come on and give you some tips and some words of wisdom from not just my almost 4 decades, oh my God, of working with animals, yikes, but my almost 60 years of being on this planet. And it astonishes me how much time has gone by. But anyway, I want to come on. I'm going to give you 10 tips to help that I have learned over the years that really make a dramatic impact in your dog's life and therefore in your life. And these are tiny little things that you think, oh, Sid, that's no big deal, whatever. But they truly, truly make a difference. So, and then there'll be a bonus tip at the end, so stay till the end. I'm not one of those that, was ever going to lie about my age. I'm proud of my age. The crazy stuff I did, I should have been gone a long time ago. So every year, every day, truly a gift. And one of the things, and it sounds so cliche, but it's true, that comes with age is hopefully some wisdom. And I want to impart some of that wisdom for you. Again, like I said, not just about my work with animals, but just my life in general. Animals have given me so much, and it's the truth. If it wasn't for dogs, one in particular, if it wasn't for my dog and punk rock, I wouldn't be here. My dog, she taught me not just love, but unconditional love and what it was like to be needed and in a good relationship. She was my first good relationship. And then punk rock, it gave me a community. It gave me an outlet for my feelings, my anger, and it was really good therapy. There's no better therapy than, dancing and screaming in the dark. It's fantastic. But it gave me my community, the misfit that I was and still am. I embrace my misfittery now, but both of them saved my life. And I want to keep paying that forward, paying that forward, paying that forward. Every dog that I am blessed to not just work with, but to meet, I can't help but feel like imparting this wisdom that could enrich that dog's life. And that is my homage to my dog Pepper, who saved my life way back when. And when I lost her, God, I still can't even talk about it. When I lost her, I think it's been like 36 years I lost her now. It's crazy. I still miss her every single day. Just like every other animal that's come into my life, I miss every single day. But when I lost her, I made a vow to her that I would learn better ways to keep dogs and animals safe. I say animals because obviously, the cats and the birds that I work with and just come in contact with, pigs, goats, every other animal that I've worked with, I want to keep them safe. And that's always my number one priority. It always will be. And I love coming on and doing these little videos because if I can just impart one little tip, one little thing that can not just maybe save a dog's life, but enrich their life and make it that much better. And also that their owner has that better bond and that better relationship with their dog. I mean, truly, I feel so sorry for people that don't have that relationship. And I think that's one of the things that keeps motivating me to keep going, when I should probably be retiring. is I want everybody to have that relationship. There's a wonderful line in MCR song. Gerard Way says, you only hear the music when your heart begins to break. And boy, when my heart got broken, shattered when I lost her, I heard the music, and now I want to teach everybody else the music, basically. And another MCR song, I'll just come on and spout MCR lyrics to you. How's about that? But he says, it was the roar of the crowd that gave me heartache to sing. It was a lie when they smiled and said you won't feel a thing. And every time I get nervous going on stage, speaking someplace, or even coming online doing this, it's the roar of the crowd. It's all those dogs and seeing them, and we're still killing 1 million dogs a day in this country, which is beyond tragic because they don't have homes. And the dogs that end up at the shelters and, on the street. I'm looking at my 2 little rescue dogs here, my 2 big rescue dogs. If I can just give one little tip that can keep that dog off the street, or keep that dog from going to the shelter, or whatever the situation, that keeps me going and keeps doing these things. Because it's not easy to come on here and listen to myself talk. But anyway, I want to come on. I'm going to give you 10 tips to help. So I'm going to give you 10 tips that I have learned over the years that really make a dramatic impact in your dog's life, and therefore in your life. The number 10 thing: socialization, socialization, socialization. I cannot stress this one enough. And socialization never ends. What is socialization? So there's a lot of conflicting information out there on the TikTok and the YouTubes. I'm so old. Socialization is not just taking your dog or your puppy out, your cat or whatever, and just exposing them. It's not just about a free-for-all at puppy class. Puppy class is not anarchy. I always say it's not the mosh pit. It is supposed to be a positive experience, and we want it to be very positive. So the neonatal period for your dog is up until about 4.5, 5 months, depending on the breed and the individual, etc. So we want to take advantage of that time and expose them positively. And the word positive gets kind of forgotten. It's not just exposing them and taking them out. We want to have them have positive experiences with multiple people, other animals, etc. Because at 9 weeks, 8 to 9 weeks is about the fear imprinting stage, where things that happen to your dog at that time of their life can develop into fears. And it's interesting, there's a lot of correlations between puppies and human children. So kind of, the neonatal period, same thing. We want to expose them positively, but if bad things, if trauma happens, then it can be really hard to counter condition and get rid of that. Ask my therapist. But so socialization, taking them out, different places, have different people meet your dog, and do it positively. So what do? Everybody that comes over to your house, have special treats. Have them give your puppy a treat. So what does your puppy learn? Oh my gosh, I love people. People are fantastic. And all different sizes, shapes, and colors of people. People in uniform, kids, my gosh. Beg, borrow your friends' kids. Get them positively exposed to that. And even though your puppy hasn't had all of their vaccines, and yes, we have to be super duper careful about exposing them to things until they're fully vaccinated, you can carry your dog around. depending on the size of your dog, you can get a backpack, get a bag, carry your dog around. You don't even want to put your dog on the floor at your vet's office. You want to carry them. But take advantage of anybody coming to your home. Have those treats. Have people feed your dog. And have those positive interactions. And continue that for life. So once you get through puppyhood, training does not end. You need to continue it. And I see this all the time where people come to puppy class and I get it. Life happens. You get the dog kind of goes to the back burner. And yeah, if it's the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? So if they're not squeaking, if you don't have a problem, why address it, right? So getting in the habit of taking your dog out. And if they're well behaved, you just take them with you every place. I always say it's true. Take your dog to lunch, take your dog to coffee, take your dog shopping with you. And then they're just naturally, organically continuing that socialization for the rest of their life and your life. Because your dog goes through different stages of development. And you may not have a problem, now, but maybe 6 months from now, 6 years from now, one may develop. So we want to continually do this socialization. And that's why you got a dog in the first place, right? Was to have fun and take them places with you. That's how I got it. That's why I love, they're my little buddies. They go every place with me. So socialization, very, very important. Okay, now, number 9 is biology. Keep your dog's physicality in mind. Some behavior issues are for medical reasons. I know I've had a couple of diabetic dogs, and my first diabetic dog, really alerted me that he was having problems was he started counter surfing. He started trash digging, which he'd never done before. He became ravenous for food. And that was like, what is happening here? And then I observed his behavior a little bit more. He was drinking a lot, having some potty accidents because he was drinking a lot. And it was the diabetes that was making him so hungry, making him thirsty. There's some medications that can alter your dog's behavior. Prednisone is one. Makes them hungry, makes them thirsty, so you can have potty accidents. I see puppies often with urinary tract infections. So of course they're going to be having potty issues. Parasites. I had one rescue dog, Iggy, God bless him. He was fabulous, but we called him Patient Zero because he had every parasite. And so of course, he'd have some potty accidents because he couldn't hold it. If your dog is sick or injured, it is possibly going to affect their behavior. When I do initial consult with any person talking about their dog, one of the first questions is, are they on medication? Do they have medical issues? Not only that we need to keep that in mind as we do behavior modification, but it may be affecting their behavior to start with. So super important, if you see any changes in your dog's behavior, talk to your vet. You and your vet are a team. So if something is going on, your dog is acting differently, get a clean bill of health before addressing it behavior-wise. And then keep that in mind as your dog starts to, age. We all go through different stages of development, and as we age, we start to act differently. I'm laughing because I'm aging. Tomorrow's my birthday, and I swear to God, I act the same as I did when I was 16. Not as crazy and reckless, but pretty much me. I dress the same too. My hair's gotten crazier over the years, but that's just because I don't care as much. But as your dog ages, you may see some behavior issues, and a lot of that could be, maybe they're losing their eyesight, they're losing their hearing, maybe they've got some arthritis going on. So just keeping the biology in mind. And that leads us to number 8. 8 is handling exercises. Now, please do not underestimate the importance of handling exercises. What are handling exercises? That is touching your dog, giving them a treat, handling them, teaching them to love the vet's office, teaching them to love to be groomed, to love to have their ears checked, to have their teeth checked, to have their toes touched, so that we don't have to sedate or muzzle the dog simply to trim their toenails. So how do you do that? Touch their feet, give them a treat. Mealtime. Handle them. You can teach the stand for an exam command, which is wonderful. But just touching those ears, giving them a treat, touching the eyes. Don't touch the eyes, but you know what I mean. Look in their eyes. Give them a treat. Teach them to love all of this. Even holding them. Yes, even the big dogs, you can do the bunny hold with them or picking them up a little bit. Because again, we want to keep in mind, as your dog ages, unfortunately, they're prone to chronic illness just like we are. And as I age, my doctor visits get longer and longer. She's testing for more and more things. So it's the same thing with your dog. And if they do need x-rays, they do need an ultrasound, or any sort of treatment, there's so much that they can do now. So we want to teach the dog to actually enjoy it and is more accepting of it, so we can do more to help not just prolong their life, but to keep enriching their life as they age. So speaking of which, I got to put my glasses on to read number 7. So number 7 is counter conditioning. Now, this is your go-to. So if your dog is bothering you, if your dog is doing something that you don't like, your first step is to go, okay, whoa. What do I want them to do? They're barking at the neighbors. So what would I rather have them do? Be quiet. They're pulling on leash. So what would I rather have them do? Walk nicely with me. It's called the law of substitution. It's a universal law. And the best way for us to phase out an undesirable behavior or a bad habit, I hate the word bad, it's so judgy, but the best way to get rid of that is to replace it with what you would rather have them do. So nature abhors a vacuum. Nothing exists in a vacuum. And especially if you have a young, active dog, they're not just going to sit and watch the paint dry. Okay? So that's where enrichment comes into play and play comes into play. Exercising them mentally, physically, keeping them busy. But that counter conditioning is your first step. Instead of going, how do I stop this? How do I stop this? Oh, what do I do about this? What do I do about that? Stop and go, okay, what do I want the dog to do at this time? And again, I want to give you this stuff so that you'll be set not just for this dog, but for your next dog and for the rest of your life. I want to empower you with this knowledge. So basically, you don't need me anymore. It's like, what do they say about being a parent? You go from a supervisor role to a managerial role. I just want to assist you. So the first step is always, what would I rather have the dog do? And then teach that. Instead of spending all of your time and focus on stopping bad behavior, teach the right behavior. And if they're doing the correct thing, they can't be doing the wrong thing. If they're sitting, they're not jumping. If they're chewing a bone or a Kong, they're not chewing the furniture. So replacing a bad behavior with a good behavior, the law of substitution, also known in psychology as counter conditioning. And then that leaves us to number 6, which is probably one of my favorites. Well, they're all my favorite. But work smart, not hard. And this is the big thing aging and time has taught me. You know, if it's too challenging, we're not going to do it. And then, of course, the dog isn't going to do it. So work smart, not hard. And this is the truth. I always say, if anything in my life takes more than 3 steps, I'm out. A recipe, more than 3 ingredients, I'm out. A drink, oh my gosh, forget the old fashions. Just give me, whiskey on the rocks, and I'm a happy girl. So, music, punk rock. I like it simple. I like it basic. I like it to the core. 3 chords is all you need. Not all this fancy schmancy stuff. So keep it simple. Work smart, not hard. And again, see the previous step, which is counter conditioning. Work on that sit so they're not jumping. But also utilize those toys. That's a big part of working smart. Is instead of me doling out the treats, just put the treats in a Kong or any other treat dispensing toy. Make the toy do the work for you. So when you go out with your dog and you're doing that socialization, instead of, doling out treat after treat and watch me's and blah, 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 which are good and we need to do those. But, when I'm in Starbucks, I just want to enjoy my coffee and talk with my friends. So I put the treats in the Kong, stuff a Kong, freeze a Kong, or special bully stick or a special bone. Make the toy do the work for you. So many applications for using a stuffed Kong, and you guys have seen all my videos. And if not, please refer to all the videos or any of my classes or programs that you do with me. I'm always, just stuff a Kong and give it to them. It just makes your life so much easier. And then you can have a life. Yeah, it would be great if we all had an hour or 2 hours a day just to, train the dog. Who's got time for that? You have work, you have kids, you have a family. So work smart, not hard. And then number 5 is the best time to train your dog. And I always say this is kind of a trick question. So the best time to train your dog is always as soon as they hit the front door. Training starts immediately. I work with so many rescue dogs, and I know most of you have rescues, so you don't have the benefit of having them as puppies. So as soon as you get them, as soon as that dog comes into your home, you start working with them. You start working with them. And working with them isn't doing intensive training sessions, especially for a brand new rescue dog that's maybe been traumatized and going through some things. You let them decompress. But you can still be doing some fun stuff, like some basic obedience. And everything that we do should be fun. If it's not fun, you're doing it wrong, for heaven's sakes. But just some basic things. Even, rescue dogs, they don't even know how to play with toys. I know Reggie, when he first came to us, Reggie was like, oh, it's a trap. I'm not doing that. It's a trap. It's a trap. And now it's so wonderful to watch him run around and play, and he's playing fetch. He's awkward as heck doing it, which is hilarious. But he's doing it, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So the best time to train is really as soon as that dog hits your front door. Now, technically, the neonatal period is the best time to train. Like I mentioned before, the neonatal period is up until about 4.5, 5 months. And they've done a lot of research. I'm such a dog nerd. I'm such a nerd anyway. They've done a lot of research that we used to think it was from birth. But now, even neonatally, while they're still in the womb, there's a lot of learning going on. And again, as a mom, I know that for a fact. I know that, my kids were born being who they were. They came out that way. And I know that they, that they could hear me and they listened to me. When Alex was born, he kept staring at me like, you're the crazy woman that won't stop talking. And fun fact about Alex, even before I knew I was pregnant with him, my oldest, that year, that summer, I went to like 5 different rock concerts, right? And so no wonder Alex turns out to be a musician. And, both my kids are into music, and my husband's into music too, obviously. But no wonder he's a musician, right? And my youngest son Harrison, he's into psychology. He's a psych major, and of course, I'm sure he, in utero, he was listening to me, and he's like, he came out knowing what counter conditioning and all these other things were. So anyway, I totally am a firm believer in that, and. So they're doing some research now that's substantiating what all of us moms know. So anyway, neonatal period typically is when, and little kids are the same way, when their little brains are sponges soaking up information. That's why a toddler can learn a second language just as easily as they can learn their first language. You go to teach a second language in high school, forget it, right? Or when you're my age, forget it. So much more complicated. That's why if you have a puppy, we really want to take advantage of that time and teach them as much as we can. They learn so quickly. I mean, they learn literally in an afternoon what a 6-month-old dog may take, a week, or a 6-year-old dog, it may take 6 weeks. And as they age, they can definitely learn. It just takes a little bit longer and it's a little bit more complicated. That's all. As long as your dog is healthy, they can learn. It just takes a little bit longer the older that they get. Same thing with us. So old dogs can learn new tricks. It just takes a little bit more. So if you have a puppy, take advantage of that neonatal period. You will be so glad that you did. It's like money in the bank. And then number 4, I alluded to this a little bit earlier with socialization, is your training never ends. Learning is forever. I mean, us too. When you stop learning is when you start dying, And that is so true. And the older that I get, I get that. And I am such a compulsive reader, such a compulsive learner. I can't imagine sitting around and not learning something new. But with dogs, well, and us too, if we stop with the training, or if we lower our expectations for them, if we start going, oh, you don't have to sit before your meals, or you don't have to always walk by my side, or whatever, if we stop doing some of the stuff that we've been doing, one, they'll go, okay, I guess that's not the rule anymore, so I don't have to do that. I can jump on people, or I can bark, or whatever. But also, 2, if we slack off, they slack off, so they get rusty. Just like if you've read a book or taken a class and the information is fresh and you're like, oh, I know that, blah, 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 blah. But if you don't put that into practice, or if you stop putting that into practice, you lose it. And then you go, oh, I forgot what they said about blah, or what they said about blah, blah, blah. And so continuing the training is really, really crucial for the rest of your dog's life. And that's why I started including with all of my programs and a lot of my classes is the digital stuff. So you can go back and you can rewatch classes or training modules on different behaviors, because it is a lot to process and it's a lot to think about. And I feel you, or you're like, oh, what'd she say about that? Or I get feedback from people where they forget, and then they've not taken a class with me for like a year, and then they come back to class and they're like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot about that. So keeping it up is good practice for us and good practice for them. So you'll use it or you lose it, people, basically. Okay, so where were we? Number 3 is read your food labels. You are what you eat, and so is your dog. Food is everything. Oh, I could do like a whole 6-week course on this. So if you want a deeper dive into any of this information, absolutely check out my programs, or let me know if there's a topic that I don't have a program on. Let me know and I will gladly talk. Getting me to talk is not the problem. Getting me to shut up is the problem. But food, when it comes to food and nutrition, so important. So read those food labels. Know what your dog is consuming, and not just their meals, but the treats and everything else. So just quickly, what you want to stay away from is any preservatives, artificial coloring, food dyes, filler, byproducts. You don't want to know what a byproduct is. The biggest fillers are corn, wheat, and soy. Those are the big three that are not easy for your dog to digest, so they actually can become an allergen. A lot of dermatitis is simply food allergies. And for us too. I learned this. My mom has really bad celiac disease. She can't have even a crumb of gluten, or she has a bad reaction to it. So please keep that in mind with your dog. Read those food labels. And there's so much going on in the pet food industry. Lots of recalls. The big guys are buying out the little boutique companies. So the smaller companies used to be really good, and then the big guys buy them out, and then it becomes all about the profit. So they change the ingredients. So read those labels, know the food company, one that you trust, and keep up with it. Unfortunately, if there's a food recall, they're not going to notify you. Most companies. Now, the food that I use, and I can leave a link for it here, is Life's Abundance. I've used them 10, 12 years now. They've never had a recall. They're a small employee-owned company, which I really love too. I love supporting the smaller companies. And it's a wonderful business model because you buy it directly from the company, so they know you and they know what you're buying. So if there ever is a recall, they will notify you directly. How beautiful is that? So you don't have to question and guess, does my food get recalled? Were those treats recalled? They'll let you know. And they don't sell it in stores. They will ship it to you directly, which is kind of nice. So you don't have to schlep, 40 pounds of dog food. Again, I'm getting older, and there's so many things that I don't do anymore. It's like, oh, no. I'm not hauling around 40 pounds. No. I'll gladly, have somebody, I'll tip the guy bringing it to my car. No problem. So you can order it directly from them. They UPS it straight to you. Or they do have a warehouse over here in Brea. If you're local, they have a warehouse in Brea, so you order it online and then you pick it up at the warehouse. So you can save the shipping costs. Or if you're like me, where you just forget, you procrastinate, and you forget, and you're like, oh no, I'm out of cat food. So you can order it and then just pick it up within usually like minutes. It's ready, and they're really nice. They bring it out to your car and all of that. It's fantastic. So read those labels. Read not just the meals that you're giving your dog, but read those treats, because again, you are what you eat. It's the same thing for your dog. And I could talk more about it, but you guys want to know what number 2 is. Number 2. I'm such a child. So number 2, ban the bowl. Paradigm shift, right? This is just a mind blower. Ban the bowl? What do you mean? I don't feed my dog in their bowl? Nope. Take away the bowls. Stop feeding your dog in a bowl. Well, how do I feed my dog? You make them work for it. Use the food as a treat. So instead of giving them a bunch of fatty treats, or if you do need to give your treats, give your dog treats, save it for those high distraction areas when you're at class or when you're in public doing some work. But not around the house. Just make him work for his kibble, or make him work for whatever it is you're feeding them. And if you're feeding them raw food or frozen food, you can make little frozen meatballs out of it. You can pack it into ice cube trays and freeze it so it's easier to handle. But start making them work for it. And, having your dog do a sit or a down or half a dozen commands before you put the bowl down is wonderful, but you're still missing huge training opportunities. Make him do 20, 100 of those throughout the day. So you're getting more bang for your buck. Literally, your money, your kibble buck or your meal buck. Plus, if you have a dog that isn't food motivated, I hear that all the time. Oh, my dog's not food motivated. I can't do that. Well, yeah, because he can just eat it out of a bowl. He's a trust fund puppy. He doesn't have to work for his living. No, we want to make him work for a living. So make him work for that food. Have him do a come and a sit for, a few pieces of kibble or 1 or 2 or jackpot it, whatever. But that way you're integrating the training into your life. Okay, so you don't even have to think about it. And if you have a dog that's an adult, we want to be very careful that we're not giving him too much food, so we're making him fat, or if we're giving him fatty treats, we're going to blow out his pancreas. Just training them. Take the bowl away. Make him work for those meals. Now, if you're having a busy day and you can't, do half a cup or a cup worth of food, depending on the size of your dog, put it in a toy. Again, make the toys do the work for you. Dogs are naturally scavengers. They are hardwired to scavenge for their food. They have a predisposition for that. So make them work for it. Make them scavenge for their food. Put it in a Kong, put it in a wobbler, put it in any treat dispensing toy. Instead of using treats, though, you're just using their kibble. Or again, if it's wet food, you can smush some wet food into a Kong. I don't have a Kong right here next to me, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And instead of taking literally 5 seconds to eat their food out of a bowl, if they have to eat it out of their toy, it may take them 5 minutes. If you freeze that Kong, it may take them 10 or 15 minutes. So make them work for their meals. Ban the bowl. Do I have to do that for the rest of my dog's life? Depends on the situation, depends on the dog. Now, if you don't have time to make them work for it, if something's going on in your life, obviously you can use the bowl and the toy. I mean, take all of this and tweak it to what works for you. But as much as you can, make them work for those meals. Make them work for it. Okay, so ban the bowl. Now, tip number 1. This one I don't even have to look up because this one I talk about all the time. And this one truly is the best thing that I can tell you to keep you on track the rest of your dog's life. And I know this from being not just a trainer, having a family, when my kids were little. For a while there, we had 5 dogs and the cat, plus running my business. I mean, I had a lot going on. So integrate the training into your life. That is tip number 1. Make them work for everything. No free lunch. Tip number 1, nothing is free. So before you pet your dog, you have him do a sit. Before you feed him, like we were just talking about, you have him do maybe a come, sit, and a watch. Before you give him a toy, have him do a come. Before you throw that ball again, have him do a sit. So you are knocking it off all day long and you don't even have to think about it. And it becomes just as much a habit for you to ask your dog to behave that way as it is for your dog to behave that way. So my little ulterior motive here, wahaha, is training you as much as I'm training your dog. Probably more training you than the dog. Because if your behaviors change, your dogs just fall right into line. And that's all there is to it. So it's really training you. And what I want to train you with this step is to ask your dog to say please and thank you. just like you would a kid or anybody else in your life, right? Before you feed them, please. There you go. Before they go see another dog, they have to sit and say please. Before you put the leash on, they have to sit and say please. Before you pet them, they have to sit and say please. So what are you doing? You are teaching your dog the importance of sit. Sit's pretty important. That's when I get fed or I get my leash on. You're also working on counter conditioning. So you are having them sit and not jump for your attention. You are having them sit and not jump or go crazy for the food bowls. Okay? You are also working on the importance of things and the repetition of it. So it becomes habit for you as much as habit for the dog. And we're setting you both up for life. Dogs do not just learn in a quote-unquote training session. Your dog is learning all day long. Every interaction they have with you, they're learning. What works for them, what doesn't work for them. And dogs are very black and white. We humans tend to make it so much more difficult because we love a good story. Oh, the dog is doing it because blah, 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 blah. I hear younger trainers say this all the time. They'll be like, oh, the dog is doing that because of dominance and he wants to be powerful over you or whatever. And I'm like, how do you know? The dog tell you that? Black and white. He does it because it works. It gets him what he wants. And that's really the definition of behavior. The definition of behavior is how an organism interacts with their environment. And that's true for all species. Now, behaviorism is really the more we reward a desirable behavior, the more the organism is going to exhibit that behavior. And it becomes habituated or a habit. So the more we ask them to sit for everything, the more they're going to do that. The more we reward them for paying attention to us, the more they're going to do that. However, the more you reward them for ignoring you, the more they're going to do that. The more you reward them for jumping on you, the more they're going to do that. And they're not being malicious or trying to usurp your authority or something. They're doing it because it works. It works. So if you're walking your dog and they're ignoring you and you allow them to go see that other dog, ignoring you worked. Or if they're jumping on you and you start petting them or even pushing them away, they got your attention. It worked. So that's really what it boils down to. Okay? So those are the 10 steps, little tiny tweaks that you can do with your behavior that will tremendously have an impact on your dog's behavior. I cannot stress that enough. Now, here comes the bonus tip. Bonus tip. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. I cannot repeat that enough right into the microphone. Have fun. If you are not having fun, you are doing it wrong. Life is short, and that is the biggest thing I have learned these almost 6 decades on this planet is it goes by really fast. It goes by really fast. And we have a limited amount of time here, so make the most out of it. Don't get caught up in something that you're going to laugh about 6 months from now. Laugh now. Laugh now. You know, dogs, I think it makes some people mad when I say this, but it's true that I enjoy it when they get the wrong answer because you really see what's going on in your dog's head. You really see how they're thinking, especially the agility class. When dogs make a wrong move, I love it because you see how your dog thinks. So laugh about it. It's not the end of the world. I have seen a lot of things. I've lost a lot of people. I've lost a lot of souls that I have really loved. And instead of getting mad at them and dwelling in that anger and that hatred, laugh about it. My grandma Lottie, in all of her wisdom, used to say, either you laugh or you cry. It's your choice. And that woman saw a lot of tragedy in her 102 years. So it's the best advice I can give you. Who cares if your dog does it perfectly? They're going to screw up. You're going to screw up. Nobody's perfect. I hate to break it to you. No matter how much training your dog does, they're going to make mistakes. Why? Because they're sentient beings and they make choices. We screw up. Our timing's going to be off. We're going to make wrong choices. Why is that? Because that's life. We're only human after all, right? So have fun with it. Laugh at your mistakes. Laugh at your dog's mistakes. Life is short. Enjoy it. So those are my 10 big tips. Those are my 10 birthday tips for life and for living with your dog and training. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you gleaned something from this and that can enrich your life, enrich your dog's life. And thanks for hanging out with me. So go play with your dog. Go play. Go have fun. Till next time.